Welcome back to the channel, guys. Another It's Tadpole MMA betting and prediction breakdown video. This weekend we've got UFC fight night event. Jessica Andrade versus Amanda Lemos. Not too much star power on this card. One of the fights I'm looking forward to the most is the return of Tyson Pedro on the undercard. He's up against Ike Villanueva. Very heavy favourite at the bookmakers. Which I don't love, but keen to see him back out there in action 3 years from his last bout against Shogun Rua in Adelaide, Australia. I was in attendance at that event, did his ACL, and went on to do it again and again even. So a long road back for him, and I'll definitely be tuning in early to catch that. But we won't be speaking on that fight in this video. We've got 5 fights on the verdict slate, so just a shallow one. They may drop more in the next day or two, and if they do, you can catch my prediction for that on my socials, which will all be linked down in the description. Last event, it was the Volkanovski card that I popped my head up on YouTube for, breaking down that UFC card. It was a bit wishy-washy. Went 5-3 on my predictions, 1-2 on single play bets, and lost the multi for a total loss of 1.37 units. But very close. We needed a Piotr Yan finish as the final leg for our multi, which would have hit it over 20-1. And if that had cashed, we would have had a 22.72 unit profit. So that one hurt, but we hit a bounce back. Hopefully get a collect like that on this one. Starting off, first fight of the verdict slate, first fight on the main card, we've got Lando versus Charles Jourdain. Lando 2.71 times on verdict and $2.05 at the bookies. Charles Jourdain 1.59 times and $1.76. This is the hardest fight on the card to call for mine, because they're really similar in a couple of key aspects. They're both very kick heavy in their approach and will chase the legs and throw it up high. I think Vernada is a little more versatile. He throws the teep, push kicks and spinning attacks, but the pure kicking power has to go to Jourdain. They both have fantastic conditioning and output as well. I don't really see either of these guys getting tired. They both throw in combination and always creating action. And I also think their speed's very similar. Lando, a little different. He's faster with his movement and with his footwork, which I think surprises a lot of guys. And then Charles just has really quick hands and really quick kicks as well. Where they're a little different, I suppose, is somewhat that above point in the fact of their movement. Jourdain is a Muay Thai style fighter. He takes a really high guard and tends to plod forward. His footwork isn't particularly slick or fast, but he does manage range well, and he's just always walking his opponent down, and catches a lot of shots on his gloves. Whereas Lando Vernada, he's much more of an erratic fighter. He boxes his footwork in and moves laterally very well, can tend to bounce on the edge of range and then commit to his shots, typically off the back of his kicks, which is a lot different to Charles. Another difference in their styles, and this is the big one for mine, is the grappling. Lando Vernada can hit takedowns. He is down from lightweight. This will be his second fight at featherweight, and his strength can match the size of Jourdain, and we will see him implement a wrestling game plan in this one, because Charles has the power advantage. He is super dangerous on the feet, and Lando's going to play that game here and there, but he won't be looking to get pushed back all fight like what Charles tries to do. Lando's going to get on the front foot in force clinch scenarios and then secure takedowns. He loves to throw and go for judo slams, judo locks, and Charles' takedown defense isn't flash. It's only 48%. He can get controlled. Lando's very happy to do that, to just stay in guard, pepper away, and then wait on his opponent's mistakes to capitalize, rather than make something happen himself and then lose position. In the striking realm, I also think that Lando's going to find the body, in particular with that digging teep. I think that's going to be his best weapon. just for the fact that Jourdain does carry a really high guard and opens up the midsection. It's going to be a fun fight. I don't think I have seen either guy in a boring scrap, but the grappling is the difference for mine. Lando's super durable. He's never been knocked out. He doesn't want to engage in a kickboxing bout with Jourdain, although I think his own kicking game is pretty handy. And yeah, get this one to the mat. Probably a war and likely fight of the night. I've got a Venata decision at 3.86 times. Moving on, we've got some flyweights in the female division. Macy Barber versus Montana De La Rosa. Macy Barber 1.52 times and $1.47. Montana De La Rosa 2.93 times and $2.57. So very closely represented odds here on verdict and at the bookies. Macy Barber's a brawler at heart. She's refining her skill set. She's getting better with that, but she still has a long way to go. She has a bad habit of kicking off balance and getting wild with hooks, and it tends to put her in bad positions. Where she saves herself is in her footwork and her movement, because that is very, very good. She manages range well. Her lateral movement's fantastic, and she rarely gets caught on the cage. She's also a switch stance fighter, so that kind of helps her elusiveness. She can offer offense as she transitions through her lead leg. And then when she does throw offense, she has big power. De La Rosa is a grappler, out and out. Her striking seriously bad. Again, she is improving, and you see that fight to fight, but she is not on Macy's level whatsoever. Her hand speed is lacking. She doesn't mix it up. She doesn't have many tools in her tool bag, so to speak, and when she comes forward, she gets way too far over her front foot. She is so off balance, and it's such poor technique, but she is a fantastic grappler. She's a big girl, she's very strong, and once she's on the mat, she is so good at floating through positions, working for submissions, and that's her game. She also has takedowns through different routes, but the main one she goes for is the body lock and then look to throw or look to trip. I think that is somewhat of a problem in this matchup, because Macy is a bully. She loves the clinch herself, has great balance in those spots, and with Montana wanting to get close, get chest to chest in an upright position to work for takedowns, that paired with Macy's movement and with Macy's footwork, I just think Montana's going to struggle to get her hands on Macy to enforce those positions. And then even the lunge double legs, Macy's not really there to be grabbed. To be honest, I think this is a good matchup for Macy Barber. Yes, if it goes to the mat, it's a big problem. Macy has skills, but Montana is far better. But yeah, the way that Macy moves, I think Montana's going to struggle to enforce her grappling. I think when they do engage in grappling, it's probably going to be in Macy's favour when they're upright. I think he's going to be better in the clinch, upright chest-to-chest positions, especially against the cage. And I think that Macy is going to land on Montana hard, particularly when she overextends on the feet. And yeah, we see that Macy, she tends to have slow starts. First round, quite slow. She tends to be pretty patient, and that's because she's looking to counter, make reads. And when Montana kind of pours out a jab, commits to a 1-2, and just gets so off balance, Macy's going to be there to hit her. Macy also has some thunderous leg kicks, and Montana is super heavy on that lead leg, so that is also going to play a factor. Montana just takes damage. She does. She wears it poorly. She's got a problem with recurring broken noses. Macy hits hard. I think we see a TKO here in the third round at 13.59 times. Macy Barber has shown us that she has great conditioning. She's got 2 third-round knockouts in her career. Montana, she's been knocked out once, and it was also in the final frame, so I don't mind that bit of history favouring a later finish. And yeah, that's the call. Next fight along, Alexander Romano versus Chase Sherman. Romanov, massive favourite, 1.17 times on verdict and $1.06 at the bookies. Chase Sherman coming back, 6.73 times on verdict and $8. Not much to be said, this is a filler fight. Sherman was just cut from the UFC roster and has been recalled here as a late replacement to keep Romanov on the card. Yeah, Romanov is an exciting 15-0 heavyweight prospect. Has only been to decision once against tough 23 winner, I think, Juan Espino, who is a fantastic fighter. He's just old as dirt and never fights. And yeah, Alexander Romanov, he should steamroll Chase Sherman. It's tricky because odds like these always make you want to have a stab at a guy like Chase, but I just cannot see this going his way. The only thing that he will remotely have success with is his jab and with his low kicks, and potentially some volume work. He has better volume than Romanov, but he is not patient enough to remain disciplined on the outside, nor skilled enough to defend any of the attacks of Romanov when he comes forward. I see Alexander getting in and under, essentially ragdolling Sherman, and then just having his way on the mat. Romanov is a grappler by trade, so strong, hits the suplexes, also hits trips and throws, and then slides through positions on the mat with ease. He is so dominant. He will find mount. He loves that spot and finish this fight. I think Romanov will do whatever is easiest. So the exact method of finish is unpredictable. But I'm going to pick a submission, and I think it's going to be a head and arm choke from mount, which is a obscure kind of specific play, because usually you want to step over to side control to finish a head and arm choke, but Sherman's a little taller. I think the extra length, Romanov's going to sit back in his hips and then just use his pure strength to finish this one from mount. You know, we saw him finish, I think it was Rogerio de Lima with a forearm choke, just right in the windpipe. Yeah, Alexander Romanov, first round submission, 3.91 times. Co-main event, Clay Guida versus Claudio Puelles. Puelles. Clay Guida 1.53 times and $1.90. Claudio Puelles 2.87 times and $1.90. Pick him at the bookies, but Puelles a bit of a dog on verdict. Clay Guida, 40 years old, but no signs of showing up. No signs of slowing down. He secured a huge result in his last fight against Leonardo Santos. He was dead to rights, so compromised to the body, getting chewed up in the Thai plum, knees to the body, knees to the head. But Keith Peterson, no nonsense. He gave him plenty of time to survive, and survive he did. And in trying to mount the finish, Leonardo Santos just absolutely blew his wad, and Clay found the second round finish, but the tide was turning even in the first. We know we're going to get from Clay Guida. He's an erratic fighter, not flashy whatsoever, but just super awkward. He moves and feints out of range, way out of range actually, but then blitzes in, remains super low, and works his hands and works his grappling. He loves to clinch and grapple, and he is very strong in that area. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt, and he just has that old man strength on the mat. He's filled out his frame. He's 40. Puelles is a prospect who we haven't seen that much of. For one reason or another, he's only fought 5 times in his 6 years on the UFC roster. But the tide's turning. He got 2 fights away last year, which coincided with his move to the USA and into Sanford MMA. I rate him. You know, he's unpolished, relatively unrefined. I think his striking could be much better, and so could his takedown attempts. But his kicking game, his left kicks to the body and the head from southpaw stance are fast and so fucking powerful. And his straight left also has some good pop. He's a submission grappler though. He isn't overly aggressive on the mat, but he is very patient with his positioning and does look to attack at opportune times. He is very reactive to his opponent and how they're defending, and uses that to transition or attack different body parts. I think his grappling IQ is really, really high. And I like him in this spot, especially as a sizable underdog on verdict. You know, Clay Guida, he's a veteran. He could very well win this fight. They are pick him at the bookies. And I can see his route to victory now. Make Poyas work against the cage, kind of control him from the clinch and on the mat at times as well. And then on the feet, just getting in and out to get the better of the striking exchanges. And to be honest, I am quite uncertain on whether or not Poyas is going to land takedowns on Clay if he hasn't leveled up in that area, because he tends to sit back on his takedowns. He doesn't drive through and chase the hips of his opponent. Some of his takedowns in recent bouts have actually been quite lucky, where his opponent just hasn't defended with the best technique. But what I do see and what I'm predicting to happen is I predict that Guida is going to get fucked up with the kicks of Poyas. And yes, when Clay is inside forcing that clinch, that won't be a factor, but Clay spends a lot of time outside, like I said, kind of way outside, but way outside of punching distance, moving, feinting, staying low, dropping his head, dropping his levels, and I can just see him getting whacked with a massive head kick from the left side, and I see a follow-up finish on the ground, because on the mat Poyas can get it done with a variety of submissions. And you know, like Guida showed us against Leo Santos, if he's compromised and hurt, he'll keep on moving and doing enough to survive ground and pound. But if you're in a bad spot and you're going to get tapped, that's something that you can't survive. And Guida's shown us that. He's been submitted 10 times in his career. So Claudio Poyas, first round submission 14.13 times, a fantastic price given the history. As for the first round, Guida's been, like I said, subbed 10 times in his career, and 6 of those in the first round. So I like it. Main event, Amanda Lemos versus Jessica Andrade. Amanda Lemos 4.80 times and $2.60. Jessica Andrade 1.26 times and $1.45. Jessica Andrade returning to the strawweight division in this bout, where she was the champion only a few years ago. She wasn't the champion for long, but she was still the champion. And I think it's the right career move for her. She was up at flyweight kind of since that title loss, and had a mixed bag of results. You know, she had 3 fights. She earned herself a title shot, but ultimately lost that to Valentina Shevchenko in a beatdown. Amanda Lemos has looked good. You know, 2 first round really early knockouts last year, and then took a step up in competition, and she looked very beatable against Angela Hill, and I actually scored that fight against her. The beauty of the Verdict app, you can go back, see how you scored, see how the public scored, and the public had Angela winning pretty unanimously as well. The judges didn't see it that way. The split decision win went to Lemos. One judge even scored it 30-27 in her favour, which is fucking outrageous. But, you know, conflicting, confusing judges' decisions are not something that the MMA community are unaware of. Moving on, Lemos is a striker, really good kicking game. She's pretty fast, has good power, and with those traits down here at 115, she can be dangerous. We know that, like I said, she steamrolled a couple of lower level fighters last year. However, if we're talking power, Andrade probably carries the most in this division, outside of maybe Weili Zhang. I also think, albeit Amanda is quick, that Jessica Andrade is faster. Lemos has the reach advantage and does throw a jab, so I don't think that Andrade's speed will be super evident. But when Jessica comes in, commits to an attack with that classic fast-footed forward press with a body-body head combination, I do see her finding Amanda, getting inside of the reach deficit. We've also seen that Amanda Lemos likes to use the clinch to work her offensive game, but she got beat in that area by Angela Hill in her last fight. Angela was the much stronger girl. She kept Amanda against the cage for the most part and then fought off several reversal attempts. I don't see Andrade having any problems executing similar tactics in this fight. Jessica is so strong in the clinch, and it's always a theme in her fights. So if Angela Hill was having success there, Andrade is going to have success there tenfold. Amanda Lemos, her takedown defense is high, it's at 87%, but Angela Hill, she got her down and reversed her on another couple of occasions, plus that clinch stuff. Andrade completes takedowns at 55% and is an absolute bull in there. I think she can muscle her down from the clinch, where I'm banking on her to have a big advantage. As you can probably tell, I am going to pick Jessica Andrade in this fight. I don't think Amanda looked great in her last fight at all. You know, she didn't throw enough. She looked way too hittable. She got out-muscled in all the wrong spots, especially going into a fight like this. I don't think that's good form. Her lateral movement wasn't there as well, and that's what's going to get her in trouble with the offensive press that Andrade puts on her opponents. And without that lateral step, Andrade is going to land her hands with the fast flurry blitzing attacks where she, like I said, goes body head, and it's also going to allow her to get her hands on Amanda for enforcing clinch scenarios and takedown attempts. I do have some concerns. Obviously, this is MMA and better yet, women's MMA, and they are by and large around the first round. Jessica Andrade, she likes to make statements, come out super aggressive, and she has been knocked out 4 times by and large as a result of doing just that. She does have to make this a dirtier style of fight. If it's pretty on the outside, that's Amanda Lemos. But if she comes in too aggressive, trying to make it that dirty style of fight kind of too quickly without making reads, she could get put away. But I think that's probably Amanda's way she wins. And if she doesn't put Jessica Andrade away early, I think it's going to be a long night. Andrade to have a lot of success in the clinching grappling areas and take out a 5-round decision. Amanda Lemos is tough, so I think she'll survive, but Jessica Andrade is a street too deep. 4.29 times for the Andrade decision. Alright, we've got some bets. We've got 5 single plays on the multi. Let's hit it. First single play of the night, I'm taking Lando via a submission or decision at $3 on Ladbrokes. And then rolling over, got a half unit play on Lando via a submission at $12 on Sportsbet. Just to speak into that a little bit, I have predicted a decision. But on the previous single play, the submission is a bit of a security bet, and then I'm going all out here on the half unit for Vernada to cinch up a sub, just for the fact that I expect him to enforce a lot of grappling. I expect this one on the mat. Charles Jourdain, he was subbed only 2 fights ago against Julian Juicy J. Rosa. And Vernada, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. He's got 5 pro submissions, which is more than the amount of pro knockouts he's had, which is 4, or decisions, which is 3. So I like the submission play out odds here. My next single play, Macy Barber via knockout in round 2 or round 3 at $8 on Sportsbet. I really wanted 5s or more to just take Barber by knockout straight up. It's not. It's $4.50, hence this play. I think there's a bit of value on bypassing round 1. Macy Barber can tend to start slow, like I aforementioned. She's got 5 pro knockouts on her resume, 2 in the second round, 2 in the third round, so only 1 came in that first frame. So yeah, by bypassing the first round, you get some super elevated odds on the knockout play, and that's the way I see this one going, as I have predicted it. Next single play, I'm taking Claudio Poyas via submission at $5.50 on Sportsbet. Yeah, this is an interesting fight. It's prospect versus vet, but Poyas has a devastating ground game. Clay Guida has sketchy submission defense, and if this one hits the mat, I really fancy Poyes to land a submission, particularly in the first round, even in the second round, and more and more less likely as the fight goes on, but who knows, potentially third round as well. My final single play is Jessica Andrade via a decision at $4 on Sportsbet. This is women's MMA. Jessica Andrade is a bull. She is a finisher, but Amanda Lemos is a tough girl in her own right. And a women's MMA fight to go to a decision for the heavy favourite to be $4. I think that's overs, to be honest. The multi-time, again, a couple of reruns from the single plays in here, but I've got Lando Venata, double chance, so that's either submission or decision victory. I've got Poyes Guida to not go the distance, and then filling it up with Andrade via decision, because I love that bet, at $31.03 over on Ladbrokes. Already spoken kind of on all of these. I'll give a bit more insight into Poyes Guida to not go the distance, I suppose. 8 of Poyes' 11 wins are by finish, 6 by sub, 2 by knockout. Guida's been finished 12 times, so even though he's had 21 pro losses, it's still over 50% of them by a finish. The fight not to go the distance, I suppose, is not only security on Poyes finishing by knockout, but also if Guida does just endure Claudio and then kind of break through that barrier in the third round, where his relentless pressure could potentially wilt the younger man. And Guida, he's got lots of decision wins on his resume, but he looks to finish as he did to Leonardo Santos last time out. He is a good submission grappler in his own right, and Claudio has been finished in one of his 2 losses, so I don't mind it at all. That's it, guys. Hopefully we get back in the winner's circle. Hit our first multi of the year. All my records for this year and my career are all down in the description. Why don't you leave a comment, tell me what you're on, where I've gone wrong. All the socials down in the description as well. Hit me up on those, start the communication. Follow me on Verdict if you want to see how I'm fighting fights, scoring fights, come fight night. Cheers for tuning in, guys. Catch up.